Yo, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to another chill Marvel Snap video. I am Sir Knight from the Snap Squad, and I wanted to come back at you guys with a little bit of a follow-up video from my last video of my infinite climb with Thanos on my free-to-play Snap Squad account. Because I had a question in the comment section from Don 1913. What's good, Don? And I felt like I wasn't really able to explain this answer without a video versus a comment section comment, right? Trying to explain something in the comment section or with text can be really difficult. So I thought I would answer his question with a video, and you know what? Shout him out, for supporting the channel. Thanks for commenting. If anyone else ever leaves a comment or has a question and I feel like it merits a video, I'll shout you out. I mean, our channel isn't that big, but it's something, right? So without any further ado, let's go ahead and find out what Don asked. Don asked, are there any replacements for Ghost in the Thanos ongoing deck? And then also he asked, can you explain why you would change Iron Man with Valkyrie? So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into that. So really quickly, what I want to show here is this is probably what I would call the best version of Thanos ongoing. If you had all these cards. So as you can see, this version has Ghost in it. This version has Luke Cage. I don't own Luke Cage. I don't own Jeff. I don't own Jean Grey. I don't own Valkyrie. But if I had all these cards, this would probably be how I would think the deck would be best built. So if I could build the best version of this deck, it would be this. However, there are lots of great replacements for these cards that make you just as competitive. You might lose a slight edge here and there, but for the most part, you'd be just as competitive. And that's why I want to showcase the Thanos ongoing deck I have here for free-to-play accounts. And then also mention why Valkyrie is, in my opinion, a little more ideal than Iron Man. But Iron Man's a great replacement. So the goal of the Thanos ongoing deck is to basically scam 2 lanes, right? So you're trying to win 2 lanes in kind of a scammy way, right? You're not really trying to outpower the other player. You're trying to kind of like steal 2 lanes in a way that the other player wasn't really expecting, right? And so we do that with number 1, Professor X, and then number 2, Iron Man and or Valkyrie. And Valkyrie does just a better job of scamming. And so let me explain why Valkyrie would be better than Iron Man. So Iron Man's really great because he's ongoing, and so when you buff him with Spectrum, he gets 2 power, which turns into 4 power, which is really great. And then all the power Spectrum adds to the Iron Man lane, Iron Man doubles, right? So it's kind of scammy in a way, right? So the best way to go about this deck is to win Professor X on turn 4 with like a Time Stone, and then turn 5 set up an Iron Man lane, and then turn 6 Spectrum, and you would win 2 lanes. If you can't do that, then you try to just win by power and be competitive in all 3 lanes. But the best way to win with Thanos ongoing is to try to scam 2 lanes, okay? So Ghost is really great for scamming 2 lanes if you have Valkyrie. Ghost says your cards are revealed last. So that means Valkyrie will always go off last. And why is Valkyrie better than Iron Man? Valkyrie is preferable to Iron Man because she synergizes really well with things like Ant-Man, with things like Spectrum, with things like Khazar, with things like Blue Marvel, with things like the Soul Stone. If you set everything in that lane to 3 power and you have a Soul Stone in your lane, that means everything in your opponent's lane is going to be 2 power. If you set everything in the lane to 3 power and you have Ant-Man, that means Ant-Man is going to be 6 power and everything else in that lane will be 3 power, so you win the lane. If you set everything to 3 power and you have at least one drop in the lane, which you probably will, Khazar puts you over the top, right? He makes that 1 drop 4 power, you win the lane. Same with Blue Marvel. Everything in that lane gets 1 power but more, meaning you win that lane with Valkyrie. So Valkyrie is just a really, really efficient way of scamming a lane out. Really solid way of winning, and it works really well with Ghost. And Valkyrie even works better with Luke Cage if you have Luke Cage, because Luke Cage does not allow your minions to lose any power, only gain power. So if setting them to 3 would make them lose power, you actually won't lose any power in that lane, which once again helps you win the Valkyrie lane really easily. So this deck, it's just really straightforward because you're just trying to scam 2 lanes, right? You're trying to scam a lane with Professor X, and you're trying to scam a lane with Valkyrie. Iron Man does a similar job, especially when compared with Spectrum. It's a huge amount of power on the end of the turn. The opponent does not see it coming. The opponent does not expect it. And so you can sneak out a lot of wins with this type of deck. Valkyrie, like I said, does a better job, but Iron Man does a very good job as well, doing the exact same thing that Valkyrie's trying to do, which is kind of scam a lane. Power out of nowhere that your opponent does not expect on the last turn. Okay, so that would be why Valkyrie is better than Iron Man. Now, what could you change out for Ghost? My first thought here, probably the best thing in this particular build, is to add in Mr. Fantastic. So I would just cut Ghost and add in Mr. Fantastic. And that's a great replacement. It gives you another great turn 3 option if you didn't have Time Stone. Because the idea is you want Time Stone in order to cheat out your Professor X on turn 5, or to cheat out any of your 5-drops on turn 4. Sorry, to cheat out your 5-drops on turn 4. But if you don't draw Time Stone for turn 6, then you could play Mr. Fantastic, and he's really great because once again, you can kind of take advantage of his 2 power in the lane with Iron Man and double it to 4 power. So you're kind of scamming a little bit, boosting Mr. Fantastic's power. Once again, he takes advantage of Spectrum, and everything gets buffed in here by Spectrum. So Spectrum is super strong in this deck. It's like your Silver Surfer. And so that's what I would do. I would just swap out Ghost for Mr. Fantastic, primarily, okay? And then in this deck, this version has literally nothing beyond Series 1 or Series 2. So you should have every one of these cards, so long as you've gone through the trouble of getting Thanos. Like I said, getting Thanos, just Thanos alone, will help open up the world of Marvel Snap to you in a so much more competitive way by just getting Thanos alone. Because these stones add so much utility. You have things you can do in the game that most other decks can't by just having Thanos. You don't need any special other cards, you know, to do. You don't need Legion, right? You have Reality Stone. You don't need Space. You don't need Jeff. You have Space Stone. I mean, you just do really cool things with this deck that no other deck can really do. You don't need draw power because you have it with Mind Stone, right? That you don't need the fancy cards to be competitive, right? So that's why I think getting Thanos is like super valuable as a free-to-play player. It should be like your #1 priority. I would not use your 3,000 tokens to get any Series 3 cards. I would just use that 3,000 towards your first 6 to get Thanos and or High Evolutionary. I'm going to do another video deck tech about High Evolutionary as well to show how you can build something really great with next to no Series 3 cards, or even none. All you would need is maybe 1, but 0 would even work, and you would have a competitive High Evolutionary deck. So yeah, so Thanos is amazing. He makes you competitive without even having a collection, because I'm only collection level 852, right? And I just feel competitive with it. Now I really want to talk about one other deck. I wanted to show you W. He's a Marvel Snap content creator, and I really think this is one of the best versions of Thanos out there if you have Psylocke. So if you have Psylocke, I think this is the dopest version of Thanos you can play. I think Thanos Ongoing is amazing as well. Really, really fun deck to play. But this W version is really great. It's really cracked. And I would use your free Series 3 card to get Psylocke and play this version if you have Thanos. And you could see everything else in this deck is a Series 1 or 2 card. There's no other Series 3 cards in here. So literally just Psylocke. But you need Psylocke because the whole point of this is to cheat out all these 5-drops. So we have 5 5-drops here. So that's like the key version of this deck, is to cheat a 5-drop out. So you really need Psylocke to really increase your odds of getting Psylocke and or Time Stone on turn 3 to cheat out a 5-drop. It's a super efficient game plan, super powerful game plan, and you win a lot of games because of it. You aren't reliant on 3 drops, 4 drops, or even your stones to win the game. Your 5 drops carry the game for you. I really recommend playing this, and as you can see here, I have some really efficient replacements. If you don't have Jeff, just run Lizard. As I stated in the last video, you could play Lizard and then play Professor X on top of Lizard, and you're probably going to win that lane because it's probably very unlikely that your opponent's going to have more than 8 power, and it's going to be very unlikely that your opponent can fill a lane by turn 4 that Lizard's in. So he'll keep his 5 power and you lock it so you don't lose that lane any longer, of course, unless they have Jeff. And you could see I run White Queen instead of Iron Lad. It's not super important to run Iron Lad in this deck. There are some cool things to copy, but there are some meh things to copy. So White Queen is kind of doing something just as similar. It's adding you a win condition that you didn't have, and it's letting you scope out your opponent's hand, and it's the same power primarily. So White Queen's a great replacement for Iron Lad, and otherwise everything is the same here. Everything is the same. Your main win conditions are all the same as W's full priced version of the deck is. And like I raved about Vision, what a great card. I really love this deck. I think this is a great competitive deck if you have Thanos. So if you have Thanos, make it a priority to get Psylocke. Until you get Psylocke, I would run something like this, and this would be very competitive as well. And then also Valkyrie is really great because you can scam a lane really easily with Valkyrie. Your opponent, very hard to beat unless they're running like Darkhawk, but you don't have to win the Darkhawk lane. You can try a different lane and just set everything to 3. Your opponent never sees it coming, and you win 8 cubes pretty frequently. Valkyrie is the 8 cube queen. So that answers the question from the commenter today. Appreciate your question, Don, and I look forward to seeing you all on the next one. Peace.